the first thing you're going to want to do is select your product. Once you have that done, you're going to have to figure out your sizing. So if you're trying to replicate a product that's already out on the market, you can simply go buy one and then take measurements. You're going to want to have your height, width, and depth measurements for your box. And make sure to record these because we will need these later. And I suggest measuring in centimeters. So the next thing you're going to want to do once you have all your sizing is building your 3D model within Adobe Dimension. So what you want to do next is actually go into Adobe Dimension, create a new file, and then we're going to want to make our cube. So what we do to get this, I'll delete this real quick if I can. So what we're going to do is, if you don't already see this, you might see libraries. You can click the plus here and then go to starter assets. It'll bring this up here. You're going to want to click cube. Let's move this over. And we're going to want to input our actual dimensions down here under cube where it says width, height, and depth. This is where we're going to put our dimensions that we just measured from our previous step. So for this example, looks like the width is going to be 10.16 centimeters. All right, got that. Looks like our height of our hanger box, at least the front of our hanger box, because it's two different pieces. If you want to add that hanger lip, I'll show you how to do that as well. Looks like our height is going to be 15.24. Put that in. And our depth is going to be 3.81. All right, so you can see here now that we kind of have the front piece of the box built. We just don't have this little hanger lip here. So I'm going to show you how to do that real quick as well. We're actually going to make a whole bigger piece and we're going to add it to the back. It's actually just going to be a really thin cube. So we're going to build another one. I'm going to drag it over here if I can. Our width is going to be the same at 10.16. Our height is going to be a little bit higher at 17.78. And our depth is going to be the smallest, and I'm going to put this at 0.1. There we go. Perfect. So once you have that created, it may not be lined up. I'm pretty sure you can just line it up pretty easily. So click the back, and here I can show you a better view here. Going to want to grab that select tool, click this, move Z. You're going to want it right up in there, right close to it. So it looks like we're not quite lined up yet. And it looks like we are also a little bit off here. So I'm just going to move this over. That looks about right. You're going to want to bring that closer as well. So grab our select tool again, move Z. You don't really want it going into it like that, but you do want it just barely off, because we are going to use the plane, the back plane of this as our backside graphic. So you're going to want to have the whole plane exposed so it doesn't get mixed in with the plane of the original cube. So now if we go to our orbit tool, we back up a little bit, you can see I am still a little bit off here on the right side. Alright, so once you have that lined up, you should be ready to go for the next step. Alright, so what you're going to want to do next, now that we have our 3D model completed, is hit save quick, just right up here, file save as, save that out, and then we're going to have to define our planes, because we're going to have to make individual graphics for every single side of this box. The easiest way to do this is to use Adobe Illustrator, because if we look at our dimensions of our box here, 10.16, 15.24, and 3.81, that makes it a lot easier for us to size the images correctly. But defining our sides, if we're just going to do it in Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop, or any software that you can size with centimeters, we're going to want to click on our face or our box to get our dimensions. And then we're going to look at our X. So if we're going to take this front one, for example, our file is going to be 10.16 by 15.24 centimeters. Or you can look at this chart here. I'm going to put it up here on the screen. This has all the conversions you're going to need from centimeters to pixels if you're using a different software. Otherwise, if you have different dimensions that are not in this video, your own custom dimensions for your box, you can always just throw those dimensions into a centimeters to pixels converter. And you're going to want to make sure that your maximum pixels on one of the sides is going to be 5,000. So to maximize the quality of our file, one of those dimensions is always going to be at 5,000 pixels, and the other dimension will adjust. So for example, if we're just looking at this one here, even though it's 10.16 and 15.24, this top dimension, I already know it's going to be 5,000 pixels because we're going to max it out and make it the best quality. And then roughly, I think the X would be, since it's 10 and 15, that's about 2/3. The X is roughly going to be like 3,000 pixels or so, maybe a little bit more. So I'm going to be showing you guys the alternative way if you don't have Illustrator or Photoshop. I'm going to be using Bazaart right here, Bazaart. I think it's a really budget-friendly, good graphic design app. And this is an example of all my individual files that I've created within this with the utilization of pixels instead of sizing them with centimeters. And I'm going to show you guys how to do that real quick. But here's an example of some of my files that I have created in Bazaart. And this is like a face, so this is side 1 of our hanger box. You can see all these individual files here. And I have some grouped together already, of course. But yeah, you can see all the individual elements. So these are all our individual files that they're going to look like once you have them all completed and all filled up. And then after you create all of these files, you're going to want to bring them into Adobe Dimension, where our next step is going to take us. But if you're going to be creating a new file with pixels instead, you just go here, start from scratch. We can go custom size, and then here's our pixel chart. And you can see here, enter a size between 16 and 5,000 pixels. So we're maxed out at 5,000, but we want to keep high quality, and that's why I mentioned that earlier, is that you're going to want to work one side 5,000, and the other will be, obviously the other. So, if our height for the John Morant one here on the hanger box is going to be 5,000, the width is going to be 3,333. So that's going to be our size. Do that. Click the check mark. That'll bring us into our file. This is not a tutorial about Bazaart, so I'm going to keep this quick. But you can put in your background, put in your graphic, whatever it may be. Put in shapes, build your graphic for your product. You can save that and make sure to save in the highest quality as a PNG, and that applies for Bazaart and for Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop when you're exporting. Make sure to do that the highest quality possible. You can see it's JPEG here. I'm going to actually go into Save Options and change that to PNG just to make the file a little bit bigger and a little bit higher quality. Alright, so once you've completed all your sides of your box design, it's time to apply them to the actual 3D model. So to do this, you're going to want to select the box you want to apply the graphic to. So in this case, I'm going to be showing you guys how to apply the very front one, because they're all pretty much the same. But you're going to want to select your cube, obviously, and then we're going to go to Actions here and Place Graphic on Model. Now it's going to bring up this. I'm going to click the hanger side 1, and it looks a little bit funny. That's totally okay. All we have to do is drag this to the sides. And you can line this up just about perfectly. You can see there, you can see that little bit going over the front. We don't want that, so make sure it's not overextending. But you do want it right on that edge. And then we're going to go down with our camera tool here. Looks pretty close to the bottom already. So that should do for now. And then we're going to want to spread it out. So we're going to do that, just like that. And we can see it coming together very nicely here. Alright, and you can notice it stops about right there on the right side. So I'm going to just barely move it over. Right there. And then spread it out just a little bit more. And now we can double check to make sure that this isn't overextended just by going around here. If it is overextended, you'll see like blue or whatever color just all crazy around this side, and it's very noticeable. So we obviously have not overextended on that side. But you're going to want to do this pretty much for all your different sides that you have modeled. So top, bottom, whatever you need. Sometimes the bottom isn't needed, depending on the camera angle and depending on what you're trying to do with the model. If you're just trying to take stationary pictures, or if you're trying to throw it into After Effects or something like that, you would want a top and bottom, of course. But if you're just doing like side angles and stuff, you can get away with just doing these sides and then just like that one. But yeah, so you're going to want to apply all of your graphics to the model just like that. And then I'll be back to show you how to set up the camera angles and such. Alright, so once you've applied all your graphics to your 3D model, our next step is going to be to find a good angle for you to take your snapshots of your product. And this is going to have to do with lighting and of course angle. So you're going to want to find a good angle for your product. Since I don't have a top piece on mine, obviously a good angle is going to be something like this. That shows the side, shows some glare in there, and a good front view of the product. So let's say I like this. Stay on this view here once you have already gotten there with the orbit tool. You're going to want to go up to here to this little camera up here and camera bookmarks. So you're going to click that, and then we can go down here to the plus, and we can put in camera angle 1. And let's say you really like that camera angle. So now you have it in your bookmarks. So if I go over here with the orbit tool and let's say I need to fix something on the back here. Oh, but I need to get back to my camera angle so I can render it out. You're going to go up here to bookmarks, camera angle 1, and here we are. So you can set up multiple angles. You can see here that I've already had some. But yeah, you can play around, have multiple different angles, and pick the ones you like. So now that you have all your good camera angles set up, the next step is going to be optional. I prefer to keep it a white background just because I think it looks a little bit more clean for your product, and it's a little bit easier if you need to cut out the white space. But if you are looking to put it in an environment, we can go up here into the top right where it says Scene and click on Environment. This is also where you can control the environment lights. If you want more glare on your product in your camera angles and stuff like that, you can play around with the environment lights. But another thing we can do in the environment is a background. So right here, we're going to check background. And you can see they already have a preloaded one. They have a few good ones within here. You can also use colors, of course. But if you wanted to put in an image, you can put in your own image of an environment, and you can place it accordingly. We can just move it around a little bit. So I would suggest probably going with a white background, but knock yourself out if you want to do something like this. So now that we have completed all the other steps, the only other thing left to do is to render out all of our selected camera angles. So you're going to want to go up to here to bookmarks, pick which angle you want to render out first. We can just click camera angle 1 for me. And you're going to want to go up to here, and it's actually, you'd think it'd be in here somewhere. It's not, and it's definitely not this. It's not export. It's right here, render. So you're going to want to go up right next to design, click render. And now you don't see anything, but you're going to see render settings. And this is going to show all your camera angles, and that's why it's really important to have those saved, is because you're going to have to either check current view, or if you have all your ones saved, I can pick 1, 3, and 2 and get all of them rendered out at the same time. And that saves a lot of time, especially when they are higher quality files. So for this example, we'll do camera angle 1. Go ahead and make your file name. I would suggest high if you have a good computer and you're trying to preserve quality. This is really a personal preference. If you're going to edit even more, definitely do a PSD file. Photoshop file. If you're not trying to edit it anymore and you're just looking for a high quality file you want to throw into a YouTube video or something like that, I would export as a PNG. But you can do both. And then you're going to want to save it, of course. Okay, and here's something I want to bring up real quick. We can see on that render, it's super bright. So this is something we can actually go back and adjust in design. So we go back into design. Let's click our box. And I want to see our white balance. So cube. Okay, so here's our cube. Let's see here, glow. So our glow's at 100%. It looks fine right now, but obviously with the render, it was not fine. So I'm going to move this down, let's say gosh, 40%. It may look a little bit dark right now, but we're going to re-render it and see how it looks. So go back into render, render. Yep, let's replace it. We'll take a few seconds or minutes depending on your computer. See, that came out a lot better. So don't be fooled by what it looks like in the view of the design view, I should say. It can look a lot different in the render, and you will have to do this a few times to adjust and make sure everything looks, perfect. But once you've done this, you have successfully completed your first mock-up design for a 3D product. So I hope you guys really enjoyed the video. I enjoyed doing it for you guys, and give it a like and comment what you guys want to see next. Thanks.